my loves. Welcome back to Chemistry with Kismet Tarot. I'm Monica, and today we are diving into Aries energy. So this could be your sun, your moon, your rising, your Venus, your Neptune, your Mercury, pretty much whatever placement you have for where Aries is in your chart. The intention of these readings is to kind of move away from doing more specified readings and helping everybody kind of get into the totality of their natal chart, the totality of their natal energy. You could be looking at your progress chart and, kind of just looking at the progress that you've made in your life, the growth, the patterning, and the way that you have changed over time. That too is awesome. Awesome. You guys are the first sign that has come through during. So I am guessing that you guys are in this state of advancement, which makes sense. So Aries, for most of the other signs, I got like numbers or signs or synchronicities. But for you, as soon as I sat down and opened my channel to start doing your written messages, I got this very clear-cut message. It came through with just tumbled in. So I'm going to start with that, and then we're going to get into the cards that are out here and then get into the context of the reading. So your first message was, sometimes the road we are called to traversing is one in which it involves moving into our greatest strength. Now, this does not always involve harnessing the full might of fire energy to burn, but learning how each element outside of fire is a benefit and aid to greater growth. The areas perceived as weaknesses become sources of great strength, and the familiar ways fall away to give birth to a higher force from within. As you balance this destined time, the masculine and the feminine come together, the flow and the flame harmonize to ground your inspiration into form. And I was seeing the North Node and the South Node. Now, the North Node is currently moving through the sign of Aries and the South Node through Libra. But I was also seeing this beautiful combination of all of the elements and the elements in the chart, and having them all kind of come together and flow together and work together in order to really help you understand that we can see these areas in our life that we're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know that very well. I'm really good here, but not so great here. And we can focus on the areas that we're just really good in because that's comfortable. That's familiar. That's what we're great at. But as we go through life and challenges come up, it asks us to really step out of our comfort zone. It asks us to look deeper into the areas that we just feel uncomfortable in. So for me, I'm great with water energy. I'm great with fire energy, but earth energy is my struggle. And because that has been a struggle for me for a long time, I went through this phase where I needed to learn how to ground. I needed to learn how to kind of get back into my body and check in with my physicality and with my environment. And I was journaling this morning about, I'm going through a lot of medical things. I don't know if you guys have been following any of the channel or watching any of their sign readings, but I'm going through some pretty serious health issues. And with these health issues, one of the big things is my heart. I'm having a lot of pretty serious heart situations going on. And we aren't really sure what it is right now. But as I'm going through that, I am learning of all the different ways that there are things outside of my physical body that actually impact my physical body. And there's a saying in, or a concept in chronic health issues, chronic pain conditions, invisible illnesses, where we talk about spoons. We have X amount of spoons in the morning when we wake up. And as we go about our day, we're using different spoons. So I get up in the morning and I've got, a handful of spoons. I've got like 15 spoons and it feels so great. And I think that this world is just amazing. I can do it all, and then I get up out of bed and I straighten my hair and I get dressed, and I've used 3 spoons just doing that, because the repetitive motion of straightening my hair means that I am triggering the tendonitis in my elbow. But I also have a lot of pressure in my head from things going on in my heart. So now my head is really pressurized. And so I've got this building headache and this neck pain. And I've been using my shoulder and my arm. And so now it's, impacting that. So I'm depleting my spoons as I'm going. And I take a breath and I take a breather and I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I get up and I go and I get some water, or I make some coffee, or I make some tea, just to kind of replenish my body. And in that, I gain a spoon. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. And so I go about my business and I'm like, I'm going to do laundry today. And I tell you guys, I've done this 2 days in a row. I'm not learning a lesson on the slow down aspect. It's not that kind of week. But my laundry, my washer and my dryer are downstairs. So I have to walk down an entire flight of stairs and back up. And with my heart condition currently, when I do stairs, I get very winded and my heart rate goes incredibly high. And then it drops out and my blood pressure drops down and I get really dizzy and I have to slow down. I have to slow down. I can't breathe. I'm not able to function properly. But I'm learning how to do these things with limited amount of spoons. And then I'm learning how to navigate the world with how I can replenish my spoons throughout my day, or how I can say, okay, if I only have X amount, how am I going to do that? This is part of me getting really grounded. Part of me working with the earth element is recognizing that on earth, in this physical body, I am not my spiritual self completely. I have these limitations. I have these restrictions. I have these health conditions. And so I have to adjust to that. But I've noticed that as I keep a clean environment, and as I do these little things that make me feel really good and really help my family out and really help keep life feeling a bit normal, as everything is anything but normal for us right now, it feeds my heart. It feeds my soul. It feeds back to me all of those places that I'm really strong in. Now, this is just kind of one take on how you can apply this message. But this is about you recognizing that you're more than just this one thing. You're more than just Aries. You're more than just this fiery nature. You are fire and water and earth and air and spirit. And you have come here into this life and into this body and into this world in order to be all of those things that you are. And when we look at the areas that we feel like those areas are where I'm the weakest in, and we challenge ourselves, we say, okay, if I feel as though this is my weakest area, how can I build that? How can I grow that? How can I strengthen that? Now we're challenging ourselves in the way that we are able to expand upon what we naturally contain. We learn more, we grow more, we become more. I'm going to pause real quick and let my dogs in because Chunk is freaking out. Give me just a moment. All right, guys, thank you for your patience. So you can see I've got all 3 of the dogs in here, and they are, sassy, as you can see, and excited because they're inside, and there's Willow barking. So we're just going to sidestep Willow. Thank you. All right. So how this reading works is it's designed to talk about the archetypal phase that you are in currently in your life. So that is what this middle card represents. And with your cards in specific, I was actually called to including the Oracle of the Radiant Sun, because there was just some extra astrological energy that wanted to come forth. So we have the archetypal phase here in the middle. Then on this side, we have the conscious influences, which is the angel tarot. And on this side, we have the demon or the unconscious influences, which is the demon tarot. And I set this up very similar to like the angel and the demon that pop up on your shoulder and they're like, ooh, let's talk about this situation. Kind of like 90s sitcoms where, you know, you're faced with this dilemma and you have an angel pop up on one shoulder and a demon pop up on the other shoulder. And they're like, do this, do that, do this, do that. And they're just kind of opposing each other. And this can represent both our conscious and our unconscious. It can be our awareness and our shadow side. And it's just these parts of us that kind of war with each other, trying to guide us, trying to lead us. And I'm seeing 11:11 on the clock, which may be significant for some of you. I do want to mention that because I was drawn to it. Willow, lay down. Sorry, if I let them rumble for too long, they will literally destroy this living room. And as you guys can see, there's Jade. She's super excited. She's watching everything that's going on outside. But we can have these two parts of us warring. And a lot of times we don't realize that it is two parts of who we are. We just think that like we just have this inner conflict and we don't realize that we're conflicting with ourselves. And we have the ability to kind of bring these two pieces together, but we have to become aware of them. So we're going to start off with the archetype. And I did channel messages for each one that just came through based off of the cards. So your archetypal energy right now that you're moving in is the priest. And this has that air energy and it says perseverance and faith. And the astrological impacting energies is the moon and Virgo with the keyword order. Now, I know they have numbers up on top, but those generally tend to just indicate the house. This could be impacting your sixth house. You could have Virgo in your sixth house if you are an Aries rising. You could have your moon in Virgo. You could have your moon aspecting Virgo in the sixth house or some placement in Virgo in the sixth house. Take that as it resonates, but it's not the important part. The important part is more of the energies. It's recognizing that this is about Virgo. It's about the moon. And it's also about the nature of air energy as you move through your life, as you persevere. And faith is a funny thing. The first thing that I got was challenges as blessings. And then I got this reference to a video that I made recently. And I'm actually going to go and change the title of it so that it is easier for people to recognize, because every time I think like, I'll link it in the description box or I'll put it in the comment section or I'll just like put a box. I don't do it. I don't remember. I don't do it. And I'd feel bad about that, except where I'm at in my life, like I'm doing the best I can, guys. So this is where we're at. So I'm gonna try and remember to change that to spiritual exposure therapy. It's a message. I think it's currently labeled as like Spirit asked me to share, and so I'm sharing something along those lines. I look pretty rough in it. I'm not going to lie. Like, that's just my personal opinion, because I was half asleep in bed and Spirit's like, we're going to talk about this now. And I'm like, can I just like not? Or can I brush my hair? And Spirit's like, no, this is how I want you to do it. And it was a step out of my comfort zone. It was, face the fact that you don't want to be on camera right now because you've gained weight, because you're on steroids, because you don't feel great. Face the fact that you're tired. Face the fact that you are not perfect, but you're also here and you're serving a purpose. You are also here being of service to the world. So talk about this because your heart is ready, because your soul is ready. And so when Spirit comes to me in that state, that's what I do. Guys, this is such an intense energy here. I feel like I'm getting super personal with you guys. And I really when I came back to filming, I was like, I'm not gonna do it quite the same. Yes, I'm going through things, but I don't want to be completely divulgent. There are a lot of things that I'm not being divulgent about. I'm being very private, but Spirit just come more out of shell, come more out. And this, I think this really ties in because Aries, you can be very in your face. You can be very, this is this and this is that and all of that. You can be that way. But a lot of the Aries that I know keep so much at heart. They keep so much to themselves because they know that they can be that fiery energy and people will just accept it as it is. And they contain so much more. And they are so diverse and so multifaceted, but they think that, well, I'm always this way, so I've got to be this way. And some of my favorite Aries people, shout out to Sarah if you're watching, babe. Some of my favorite Aries people really do embody so much of their chart. They embody so many of their other energies, and they really embody all of those elements in just a multitude of ways that you can't, 90% of the time, you can't actually tell that they are Aries predominant because they have learned how to meld these energies together. And at the same time, I know some Aries who are just so dominant Aries and they have so much Aries energy and their chart has so many empty places that they don't spend that time cultivating. And so they can go really veer off to that other end. But in your energy here right now, Aries, I'm feeling this like I'm getting it. I'm understanding it. I'm flexing, I'm flowing, I'm learning. And that's such a beautiful thing because when we look at challenges, we can look at challenges as though they are hardships. This is, again, something I was journaling about this morning, about the nature of struggle and the concept of suffering. And I've been asked this question before by a viewer, like, why do we suffer? Why do we struggle? Well, we struggle because we struggle. We struggle because it's part of the human condition. We struggle because we are challenged. And in those challenges and in those struggles, we are faced with things both within and without in order for us to help, or in order to help us grow, in order to help us learn, in order to help us evolve. That's a natural part of life. So yes, we struggle. But do we all suffer? And that was the big thing for me is we don't have to suffer. Suffer is a mentality. Suffering is a mindset. We struggle and we have challenges, but that does not mean that we are necessarily suffering. I have a very serious heart condition. I am in excruciating pain right now. I can't even tell you guys the scope and the depth and the level of pain that I have been experiencing in my life, in my body over the past 6 months or so. It's something that I've never gone through before. And I am one who is very accustomed to chronic pain. I've been doing it for many, many years. And when it started eating into my bones, when my bones themselves, my bone marrow itself began to hurt. And when your bones hurt, when your bone marrow hurts, nothing touches it. Nothing helps. So you can get medication and it'll make you sleep. And so your brain will think that the pain is better when it really isn't. It's just that your mind is being shut down. But the pain is just there. I could look at this as I am suffering. I am suffering inside of my body. I am suffering in this pain and this anguish. Or I could say, you know what? What is this teaching me? And in the past, I would have let my pain be suffering. And that's not how I operate anymore. So we have this choice. We have this choice to see things in a certain light. The archetypal phase that you're in, this priest phase, is asking you to see, are you suffering needlessly? Are you deciding every day that I'm going to wake up and this is going to be a point of suffering? Are you undergoing these horrible things and you think that you're being punished? Or are you able to look at it and be like, how am I learning? How am I growing? How is this changing me? I have learned how to set boundaries. I have learned how to be stronger. I have learned how to value myself and my body and my worth. And I've learned that life will keep going. It stops for no one. And so if I want to be here and be of service, then I have to show up. I can't just wait for life to just magically make its way to me. I have to make my way with life. No matter how painful, no matter how excruciating it might feel. And I choose whether I see it as suffering. That's the order of it. So the message that I got for your archetype is when life is chaotic from unexpected challenges, it is internal order in the vein of faith and its perseverance in the heart and soul, which brings one out of chaos. Sometimes our inner world needs pressure. Sometimes we need the challenges, for these are the areas we grow the most, where we learn to let go of the outer world and put trust in our own inner divine connection. I've never fallen back more onto spirit than I have lately with my health, than I have lately with the things that my family has been going through, than I have lately with the loss and the death that I have been dealing with losing my grandma and my aunt in the same year. I have another aunt in the hospital. I have an uncle who is dying of cancer. I have my family is aging, and as they age, they deal with illnesses, and as they age, I deal with loss. And sometimes that loss is expected, like my grandma, and sometimes it comes in the form of a semi-truck that you just don't see coming, like when my aunt died. And you face it, and you get all this pressure inside. For months, I kept what was going on inside of my body to myself. I didn't want to be sick again, and I didn't want to have to deal with doctors again, and I didn't want to have to go down that path because there was so much medical trauma in my life that I just didn't feel as though I was ready until I got to this point where the pressure of what was going on internally was so bad that I couldn't deny it anymore. It softened me in so many ways. Whatever it is that's going on inside of you, this energy that is putting pressure on your insides, in whatever way, like I know this is air energy, which tells me that a lot of it is mentality. It's turning you into this beacon of faith. And you don't have to be a beacon of faith for anyone else but yourself. Because this isn't about anyone else. This is about you, Aries. This is about you recognizing this is what I need to do for me. This is what my body needs. This is what my mind needs. This is what my heart needs. This is what my soul needs. When your heart and your soul are sitting there and they're working on teaching you mind and body, when they're teaching these aspects of you, those two parts of you can feel like an enemy or they can feel like an ally. And it really depends. So I want to take a look at your conscious your conscious influences, so we can move through that. Whew, guys, I'm moving some energy with you. Ooh, buddy. So first we have the Queen of Swords and we have the Queen of Wands. So we have two queens here. This is very divine feminine energy. But the Queen of Swords is the card number 38. Queen of Wands, the card number 4. We have Hamaya and Elamaya. God, hope of all the earth, and the hidden God. Now, instead of looking at the meaning of these, I'm also going to go into this astrological energy here, and then we're just going to talk about the channeled message. We have Jupiter with Capricorn and control. And this is, alluding to the 10th house because that's what Capricorn rules. But Jupiter is the son of Saturn as the ruler of the 10th house and of Capricorn. So this energy is about that ruler energy and the next generation, those coming after us. So it says, you're coming or have recently come to an inner awareness, a growing understanding of your childhood influences, particularly in the area of expectations from the divine masculine energy and how the divine femininity can and should be expressed or repressed. As you learn, you may give the divine blessing and gift of forgiveness, which then relinquishes control of the past or of the present from the pains of the past. How you choose this, if you choose it, and when you choose to move forward with freedom The answers and actions here lie in your heart's guidance and your soul's path. It is yours to harness in the ways that are meant for you. Okay, so before we get into the unconscious influences, I want to talk about this just a little bit more with you guys. Heart and soul. Heart and soul is a big energy in your energy field, Aries, right now. Even if we don't realize it's in our energy field, it is. Now, forgiveness can be a hot button issue. It can be a triggering word because we're taught, and not everyone is taught this, but I know I grew up this way, where I was taught forgive and forget, forgive and move on. Forgive those who do wrong to you and just let it go as though it was nothing, as though it meant nothing. And that's not the nature of forgiveness. We don't forgive others in order to allow for these things to continue to reoccur. We forgive to free ourselves, our hearts, our minds, our souls, to free ourselves from the encumberment of what happened. When we are unable to forgive, whether it's ourselves or others or both, we hold on. We grow resentment, we grow malice, we grow vindictiveness, and we don't realize that we're doing that. And we're not inherently that way, but these things grow because they fester, they stay inside of us. We don't have to give forgiveness and continue to accept those people into our lives or accept those ways. Sometimes we deal with people that just simply cannot grow, cannot change, or rather, it's not that they can't, they just choose not to. So what do? Do we forgive them and give them this gift? Well, that's up to you. That's entirely up to you. I make no judgments. I've held on to grudges for years. At this point in my life, I am realizing that there's no point in it, but there's also no point in being dishonest. There's no point in not saying, you know what, this is an issue and this is an issue, or this is a way of operating in which it just doesn't work for me. So I'm not going to do it that way. And you can meet me at the table as my equal and we can find some common ground, or we can go our separate ways and we can do it a different way. And sometimes that's what we have to do. And when we're under the guise of these childhood influences, these childhood conditionings, whether you were conditioned about the divine masculine energy from a father figure or a grandfather figure, or from some masculine figure, or some of us were conditioned that way by our mothers, by our grandmothers, by the feminines in our family, where we learn that we have to be harder. We learn that we have to be more like the men because they're the successful ones. Or we learn that we have to soften ourselves and acquiesce because that is our role. Whatever have you. Like you could gender identify as male and be, someone who grew up being told, well, you have to be the provider and you have to be the purveyor and you have to be this and you have to be that. You have to be the protector and you have to do all of these things because that's what's expected. And you're not allowed to have emotions because that's not okay for a guy to do. We grow up with these things and then we go out into the world and we come into these unions, we come into these connections and we don't realize that we're coming into them incomplete. And that's why we have conflict and that's why we have challenges. In your conscious influence, you're coming to this understanding of all the things that you've contained within yourself, that you have the capability of pulling out, the ways that you are able to break these traditions, break these rituals, break these mindsets, break these mentalities by harnessing what you contain within yourself, by taking all those pieces that you have hidden because it wasn't okay, it wasn't acceptable, you were taught not to do it or taught not to be it. And you're saying, I don't want to let these things have control over me anymore. You know what? That was one way of doing it. That was the way that generation did it. But I choose not to allow someone else to have control over me. I recognize that I'm not in control of everything in my life, but the things I am in control of, I will control. And that means that my narrative and who I am, my definitions and who I know myself to be, that's in my control. And everybody else can try and project, but that doesn't include me because that's not me. They don't know me, so they're projecting some aspect of themselves onto me. And when we break that control pattern, when we say, okay, you know what, this is just the way that I grew up, and that isn't how I have to operate anymore, now we're breaking ourselves free of that restriction, that limitation that keeps us from authenticity. It keeps us from genuine connection, and it keeps us from being our truest self. Your conscious influences have this energy in it where it's saying, you know what? I know how to protect my mind, and I know how to heal my mind because I can break free of these influences that have been controlling me, that I've been allowing to control me, by saying, I get autonomy. I get sovereignty. I get to choose. And choice is such a huge superpower that we get in this life. We get free will and we get to choose. Yes, there are many things that are out of our control, but that doesn't mean that we don't still get to choose. What you choose is how your life unfolds, how you interact with it, how it impacts you, but also how you impact others. So in your unconscious influences, this is the devil on your shoulder. This is what you're not necessarily aware of. We have the demon Stolas, and it's this owl who can sometimes be said to be a man or an owl. And with that, we have another Jupiter card, but Jupiter in Aquarius with innovation. Now, traditionally, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn again, but in modern astrology, with the advancements and the new planets, it's Uranus. Now, Uranus is said to be Saturn's father. So this is a skipping of a generation, and now we're reinventing. Now we're saying, okay, it's been done this way and it's been done that way, and now I learned this. And so I'm going to take what I've learned here and I'm going to recreate. So the messages that I got for you is worth and value as you work to transcend the limitations of the past. And the message, and the more clear-cut message is, innovation and creation are similar. But the question arises here, are you innovating for the sake of keeping up with the Joneses? Or are you creating something new from what was once, or what once was, let me try that again. Or are you creating something new from what once was, knowing the value it holds, not only in your life, but in the world? New from what once was. I really got to put commas in here when I channel. Okay. Innovation and creation are similar, but the question arising here is, are you innovating for the sake of keeping up with the Joneses? Or are you creating something new from what once was, knowing the value it holds, not only in your life, but in the world? You hold answers within to see your own true worth, and it comes to your inherent value in living your most authentic and aligned life. Now, here's what I find really interesting, Aries. Your channeled message is the only one that I really tripped over like that. And I tripped over it because when I was writing it, I didn't pause. I didn't take a step back. I didn't take a look. I just did it. I let all the words come out. And sometimes we can go back and we can check and whatever. But this is about value. It's about worth. So what are your words worth? What is the value in what you're saying? What is the value in what you know? This innovation energy, it can literally just be about a way of speaking in the world, a way of perceiving in the world. So when you look at what came before, they always say, there's a saying, excuse me, I needed to yawn. Alchemizing energy here, Aries. I love it. There's this saying, okay, Aries 2.0. I set the notebook down and it stopped the video. So we're just going to piece them together. What I was saying is, there is this saying out in the world. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but it's, if the wheel isn't broken, don't fix it. If something isn't broken, don't fix it. Or, we keep trying to reinvent the wheel. Why are we trying to reinvent something that it doesn't need to be reinvented? We reinvent the wheel. What are we going to do? Put it on squares? How are you going to drive a car on, squares kind of thing? So you don't want to reinvent something that it has inherent value. It has inherent worth. But if you're driving a car on squares and you see the value of the circle and you say, let's do this a different way. And people are like, but it's worked this way for years. But you're like, but I could make it work better. These people keep challenging you. What are you going to do? Innovation for the sake of just, like I said, keeping up with the Joneses. It's a turn of phrase. It's basically like if you think about the digital age. In the digital age, everything advances rapidly, very quickly. I literally just upgraded my phone for the first time in about, I want to say 3 or 4 years. So I was working with like a 4 model past iPhone. By the time I finally upgraded my phone, my battery was dying like ridiculously fast every day. I had to keep it plugged in order to have a phone call that worked for longer than 5 minutes because it had reached the peak and then the downturn of its duration of time. And this is because in the digital age, everything new is always better, apparently. And I just found that to be patently untrue. I really loved my phone. And now I'm still adjusting to having this new phone and the ways that it works. And I hope I have this new phone for another 4 years because change is good, but in slow increments. But we can keep wanting to upgrade and update and innovate and do the new and do the fancy and all of this. And with Jupiter having this influence here, we can want to say, you know what, I'm going to keep upgrading my worth and my value and everything that I do. And I'm going to innovate this and I'm going to innovate that. And I'm just going to expand and expand and expand and expand and expand. And then you know what happens? Jupiter goes retrograde. Jupiter goes retrograde and goes, how much more expansion you think you can handle? Have you expanded outside of your means? Have you expanded outside of what is right for you? Of what has value, of what has true worth for you. So I've been doing all of these home renovations and I have one room that it used to be my office space and it's half torn apart. I had the carpet ripped out. I have the molding ripped off the walls. I've got shelving units pulled down. It's got a bunch of, wood in there for storage because we're going to be doing built-ins, all of these things. And this summer I was just go, go, go. I did a built-in in my son's room. I built all of his furniture. We redid his floor. We redid my daughter's floor down in the basement. We repainted everything. We repainted up here. I did a bunch of landscaping in my front yard. I was just go, 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 go. Improvement, 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 improvement. The more that I went, the more that I just kept going. It was like over time, it was like running my face against a brick wall over and over and over again because I was doing all these improvements and it really does. It helps my home. It helps, the curbside value and it helps the property value and it helps the equity and it helps my mental health and it's comfortable and it's beautiful and we love it. But my health, my body just kept taking the hit after hit after hit. So I'm growing and I'm building and I'm doing all of these things. And now I'm in this phase where I'm like, okay, yeah, Jupiter's retrograde right now. And now I'm focused on paying the things that I have financed. And now I'm focused on slowing down and coming back to center. Now I'm focused on being of service out in the world. Now I'm focused on giving back because I have poured enough in here. Now I'm focused on these things in order to bring that into balance because if I kept going, I just keep running myself into the ground. So I have a room that's completely torn apart. It's like halfway through the destruction phase of a renovation. And this summer, it would have sent me into a blind panic. And now I look at the room and I'm like, I'll get to it. I'll get to it when I get to it. Because right now, what I'm needed for is something else. Where I'm needed is elsewhere. When we have this part of us, this unconscious part of us that says, let's innovate, but let's make sure that we're innovating from a place where we understand the value, we understand the worth, so that we're innovating from our true self-worth. And this is in your unconscious. So this is the part of you that it should be the most irrational part. The unconscious is considered the most irrational part, but your unconscious is literally trying to help you just as much as your conscious influences are, because there is this control factor that says, well, you have to do it this way, and you have to be this way, and you have to respond this way. And your unconscious is going, no, I freaking don't. Why? Because you understand the nature of divine order. You understand that because you have this perseverance in your faith. You believe in something greater than yourself, and you believe in yourself to be greater. And that's a powerful place, Aries. That's a powerful place to be in your life. Because when you're in that place, now you're able to really expand truly for who you are and what you're here to do. When you're called into this priest energy, we can be like, well, am I supposed to lead? Yes. But does that mean you're here to lead people? No. That choice is yours. This is about you leading your life outside of what was when you were younger and what this person says or that person says or any of the other things. Wow, my desk is so dusty. Sorry, guys. I just can see it I don't usually have the windows open. And I usually dust like once a week, but I just haven't this week. Okay, so let's just move on. So with this archetypal energy, we're going to get 5 cards. We're going to see what you don't see about the current archetypal phase, what challenges you about this phase, where you can find help as you navigate through it. And we're just going to get some advice on connecting with your higher inner self, which is kind of this conscious influence, and also connecting with your shadow or the unconscious influence. After that, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys these cards. I'm not going to divine them a whole lot. I keep saying that, but then as I'm pulling them out, then Spirit's like, toss us in. So if Spirit calls me to, I will. But otherwise, those cards are simply here for you to reflect on. You can journal on them. Whatever it is that you're called to, whatever is natural and right for you, that is what they're here for. There's a question card, a sacred symbols card, and then that's just an oracle card from the Wisdom of the House of Night deck, which is one of my favorites because I love those books. So, Spirit, can we get 5 cards for Aries? Okay. There we go. All right. Wow, guys. 10. We have an abundance of ones here. I've got 10, which reduces to a 1, 10, which reduces to a 1, and then a 1 over here. A lot of Jupiter energy, which is interesting because I would have expected that in Gemini's reading because Jupiter is moving through Gemini. But you guys may have had, say, for instance, like your Jupiter return at some point, or you may be moving into your Jupiter return if you have Jupiter in Gemini or in Cancer. You may be building up to that, or this may be the unfolding after your Jupiter return. If you had Jupiter in Pisces, Aries, Taurus in the past few years, that may be significant for some of you. But what don't you see about this archetypal phase? This is very curious. We have the 10 of Cups and the word repletion. Now, in this 10 of Cups, it harkens to Piscean energy. So this is the house right before yours, the energy right before yours. It's like the preview to, but the 10 of Cups is considered the card of happiness. Like it's the most joyful card in the deck, a lot of people say, because it's family happiness, it's emotional fulfillment. It is, your cups are full and overflowing with everything that you could possibly hope for. But in this card, I find it interesting because we're working with the Harry Potter deck. And in this card, we have the mermaids. But the mermaid is alone. Why? Because she's just stained glass window. She's not actually a mermaid. She's not actually in the lake or in the ocean or in the sea with her mermaid buddies. She's just a facsimile of that. And all of the cups that are her abundance and her joy are just imagery. What you don't see about this is that we can have this picture perfect image of what joy is and what happiness is. We can purport to have that in our lives. And I just saw 11:11 again. Or we can show the world that part. Like, guys, I'm not even going to lie. Like, this, what you guys can see here, this is just a portion of the renovations and the redesign that I did. And this is one of my favorite rooms of the house. I have tulips on the walls, and I have these beautiful imagery, like watercolor paintings that are called Hope. And I had this beautiful contrast between light and dark. And, you know, like I have fake plants because I am not the best at houseplants. Just not my forte, and that's fine. And at one point, in this area, I had painted everything white, and I had everything, you know, set a specific way, and I wanted it to look a certain way, and I wanted it to be presented a certain way. And it was very inauthentic. And then life slammed me down. And I was faced with this, like, what do I do now? What do I do? And what I do is I find the authenticity in it. So in the midst of pain and anguish, I decided I needed a change. I need to change the energy. I need to heal. I need to create a healing environment. And that's what I did. That's why my home looks like it does. It's no longer this facsimile. It's no longer this imagery, but the imagery was necessary for me to be able to refill my cups, to have that repletion. So what you don't see about this is that it's not about the outward appearance. It's about the inner emotions, everything like that. But we have to face certain things first. And one of the things that you're facing is what challenges you, which is the Two of Wands, and it's domination. This is Mars and Aries energy. This is your fire energy. This is what we were talking about in the very beginning. This is that energy that says, okay, you got to do it this way. Everybody expects it to be this way. And then you got to go to battle, and you got to stay strong, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. That dominance energy that says, I have to beat everything and beat everyone, because that's just the way it goes. That's just how this energy works. But it's not always that way. We need to refill our cups. So this is about refilling your cup. This is about finding your happiness. But we don't always find that through dominating others, or letting others dominate us, or having something take control and take dominion over who we are and what we do. So what's helping you is fortune, or the wheel of fortune. What's helping you is Jupiter. Jupiter in retrograde. Jupiter is saying, slow down. There's more pieces to the pie. So this is these are the house cup, like gem pools. And each house at Hogwarts, they get points for doing things well, or they get points taken away if they misbehave or whatever. And they keep track of them in these. And you've got the sorting hat that goes out in front, the sorting hat that decides who goes into what house because of certain qualities and certain features and certain characteristics that we carry, even though the sorting hat will always take into consideration your wishes. This is about the wheel that always turns. What is helping you is recognizing that there are more pieces to the puzzle, and that you don't have to do it all. You don't have to dominate everything and everyone because you have to get it all done. It's not all on your shoulders, Aries. I don't know who needed to hear that. I felt this like rush of emotions, like, what? What? No, I'm here to tell you it's not all on your shoulders. It's not 100% your responsibility. There are 1 million other people, 1 billion other people, 8 billion people in this world. You're not here to rescue everybody. You're here for you. It is not all on your shoulders. There are many ways that this can go. And sometimes we let other people win because it's the right thing to do. Sometimes we let other people win because it's just a season for us to rest. Sometimes it's not about the points. It's not about the gems. It's not about the trophy. It's not about the cup. It's not about the award. Sometimes it's just about breathing in and out and living and realizing that I don't have to fight my way through life. And I don't want to fight my way through life. I want my life to look like a picture. I want it to be picture perfect per my heart, per my soul. It doesn't matter what other people say. It matters what my heart and my soul are saying is right. So let's connect with your higher self. We have the 6 of Cups with happiness, and this talks about the past. It talks about your youth. Virgo, or no, not Virgo, but Scorpio energy, the sun in Scorpio, which is crazy to me that this is labeled happiness. But sometimes we can look at the past and we have these rose-colored glasses on and we're like, I was so happy back then. And I used to do that. I used to look back at the beginning of my tarot journey. I'm like, everything was so magical. Or the beginning of my spiritual journey. Everything was so magical. Everything just seemed so great. I want to just get back there. And in reality, the more that I move forward in my life, the more that I realize that phase was great to get me into all of this, to get me comfortable with all of this. But I want the raw. I want the real. I want the realistic. I want the truth. I want honesty. I want transparency. I want accountability. I want integrity. I want authenticity. And we can't have that if we're like, everything's magic. Everything is splits and glamour and glitz and blah, blah, blah. No, get real with me. Be like, hey, you know what? I went through this trauma as a kid and it still impacts me. And I live every day working through this trauma. But I'm still here and I'm still breathing. I can look at the world like it is a chaotic, unsafe place, but I'm still here and I'm still breathing. That's real. That's raw. That's honest. That is where we find our happiness, because we can look at the past and we can be like, great. But we can bring that into the present by being more authentic. And this is about connecting with your higher self. So for some of you, this is about recognizing that even though you went through these traumas and these pains in the past, there's still joy. There are still happy moments. There are still happy memories. There are still these things that you can harness and move forward with. We can take those pieces and we can make a potion of joy for our life. We can choose that. You can choose that. The best way to connect with your higher self is simply by embracing the happiness of just being you. And we don't always know how to do that. I rejected myself for years. You know, I struggle with things like body dysmorphia. I struggle with eating disorders. I struggle with a lot of things that I didn't understand until recently. I didn't get it. I didn't know. Because my childhood was very tumultuous. And so I rejected myself a lot and really struggled with what the concept of happiness actually is. What does it feel like? What does it look like? Like, what is happiness? And I, to be honest, Aries, I still don't have an answer for you. Happiness is what it is. It's what we make of it. And it's not always a lasting thing. It can be a fleeting thing. But sometimes it is the most fleeting happiness that we need to feel in order to be able to connect with a part of ourselves that knows that happiness can lead to joy. And joy is a form of fulfillment in our lives. And it really just depends. Happiness for me right now wouldn't be like, it's not dusty. Woo. Joy for me is saying, you know what? You guys can see the dust and you can see I'm an imperfect person and it's not all glitz and glamour and whatever. But we're here and we're together and we're working together and we're navigating through this, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Yes, I know the internet is all about aesthetic, but you know what? That doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of things, what matters is how this impacts your heart and your soul. That's what matters. And let's talk about connecting with your shadow. I'm going to cut straight to the point. We have the Magus, card 1, it's the Magician. Number 1, communicate. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Number 2, recognize that every element is meant to be a part of it. You hold and harness all of these. That's how you connect with your shadow. And your shadow is sitting here going, let me show you the value of what you have to share. Let me teach you. Let me show you how to appraise this. Let me show you how to see it so that you create from the right place, so that you create what you're meant to. Communication. Learning to communicate and to harness all of the elements. That is how you connect with your shadow. It is literally that simple. And at the same time, it is incredibly complicated because it depends on each one of you and how you do that. I have no advice for you. None. Because I have no idea how it will work for you. And I would have to spend hours trying to figure out how that would work for me. But I have the feeling that there's something inside of you that already knows. And it's 22:22 on the clock. Now it's time to move on. We are going to go ahead and get your guys' cards. We're going to start with the symbols. We'll get the oracle card from the House of Night and then your question. So this is, again, just for you to take forward. So you have the card Affluence with the number 5. Interesting. I was going to say 14. 14 reduces to a 5. So Sagittarius, Taurian energy, again, fire and earth energy, but this is about mutable and fixed affluence. I'm going to put these up here. I don't know if those are significant for some of you. You might have Aries in your 5th house, and that's being very affluent on you right now. So that's your creative self-expression. Wow, guys. Okay. And then we have 15 with fragment. It's just kind of a ghost energy. So affluence and fragment. And 5 and 6 of progress. And 6 we have with the order. So that's something to take into consideration. Ooh, this is a good one. I like this one, especially seeing how I've been facing my own mortality a lot lately. What would I like written on my tombstone? I'm going to tell you guys something. I had a conversation with my mom yesterday. We were talking because of the things that I'm dealing with and the things that I'm going through. Some of the things that I wanted her to know was my wishes at the end of life. I talked to her about, and we were talking in the context of like some of the things that occurred at my aunt's funeral that were just kind of outrageous from the pastor that presided over it. I don't want to get into too much detail on it, but essentially I told her, I said, Mom, I want to be a tree. She goes, what? I want to be a tree, Mom. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I don't want a funeral. I don't want to be embalmed. I don't want a casket. I don't want to be buried. I want to be a tree. Cremate me. Bury me. Bury me with the trees. Bury me in the places that I am the happiest. On the nature walks. Plant a tree in my honor and put a part of me at the base, at the root. Let me be a tree. I don't want to be buried. I don't want my body to be in one of those things. Return me back. Don't weep for me, but dance for me. That's what I want. We talked about the things that I wanted at the end of my life. You know, whether I wanted to be on life support, how long, what the context of it was, who would have power of attorney to make the ultimate decisions. And rather than her telling me, well, you're being morbid or this or that, she thanked me. She said, thank you. I can tell that you've thought this out. I can tell that this matters to you, but it also makes it a lot easier for us. And I said, you're welcome. Because when my aunt died, we didn't know enough. We didn't know enough about what her wishes were. So we had to kind of go by what we could go by. Everybody had kind of an inclusion. I said, I want to be able to see her body, but I support cremation. So can we do it, where we have her body at the family service, and then we do a celebration of life, and she has her ashes? Because for me, there is this need for tangibility in death. When my cousin died, I didn't get that because there was so much damage that you couldn't see her body. So I heard she had died, and I went from seeing her alive to there being no body, and they hadn't finished cremating her, and there was no burial, and it was so surreal, and it just never set fully in. Like it didn't for years. And I didn't want that this time. And so it makes you realize what you do and don't want for the people that you love when you leave them behind. When we're thinking about our tombstone, we're thinking about all of the things that make us who we are and the legacy that we leave behind. These aren't always the easiest things to think about, Aries. And so if your higher self and your shadow self and your spirit guides and your ancestors are calling you to ask yourself this question, it's because they want you to see you and your life in a different light. Not in the context of other people, but in the context of you and what you leave behind, your legacy. Legacy isn't always about money. Sometimes it's just about the love that we leave behind and the lessons and the wisdom. Aries, this has been intense. This has been intense. I feel such a deep resonance with you guys. I don't know how many of you guys have been on this channel for a while. I don't even know who is all going to watch this. But I hope for whoever this reaches that you understand from the bottom of my heart how grateful I am to have been able to sit here and channel this energy and to work with it today. Thank you. You guys are part of my soul family in such a profound way, and I just am very grateful for this. I want to take this time to say thank you to your guides, to my guides, to the Great Spirit, to the cosmic waves and energies and professors out in the skies, teaching us and guiding us and leading us. Thank you so much to our ancestors in this life and every other life. Ancestors by blood, ancestors by soul, ancestors by place, ancestors in the stars, ancestors in the waters, ancestors everywhere. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you to the Divine Creator for bringing these souls here to this channel, for bringing this energy to me to be able to channel, and just for this connection, this profound, unbelievable connection that I feel this morning and this afternoon. Thank you. Aries, you guys have changed my life today. This reading has changed my life. And it would not be possible if you were not here on this channel, if you had not come here. So to each and every one of you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope that you guys resonated. I hope you find whatever it is that you're looking for. I hope that you take full advantage of this archetypal phase to the best in your life. Thank you for allowing me the space to share the truths that I shared with you, to find that resonance. And thank you for being part of my soul family and being part of my journey, even if you guys are just stopping by for a bit. Thank you. Aries, I love you guys so much. I'm going to leave you here, and I will see you at my next reading. Bye, guys.